Surprise for such a wonderful occasion. I'm Elliot Gerson. I'm Executive Vice President of the Aspen Institute, and it's my privilege to be responsible for our policy work at the Institute, our policy programs, of which there are more than 30, and the Center for Native American Youth is one of those, as well as our public programs and some of our international activities. But I must say that even though I have an opportunity to work in so many areas, this is really one of my favorites, and I'm so pleased that all of you are here. The Center for Native American Youth was launched in 2011, I believe, and so it must have been 2010 when Senator Byron Dorgan came to talk to us with his idea and his incredibly generous spirit. He was going to be leaving the Senate with excess campaign funds. Often those are given to other campaigns, but he had something else in mind. He had been inspired by something that he had seen and something that he experienced during his long career in public service involving Native American youth, and felt that it was much more important than anything he could do to launch a program focused on the challenges and opportunities faced in Indian country. He was particularly distressed by the terrible circumstances in terms of mental health and emotional health, and particularly suicide rates in many parts of Indian country. And he came to us because he wanted to create a program focused on these issues, but not necessarily resident in a program already focused on Native American issues or Native American advocacies, because he felt that a place like the Aspen Institute, with our broad responsibilities and our interests in all aspects of American society, that somebody like us, an institution like us, could really shed a light on this incredibly serious problem and change the national conversation around the challenges faced by Native American youth. So we launched the program here, and it fit in perfectly with all the other things that we do at the Institute. We're extremely proud of what's been accomplished under Aaron Bailey's leadership from the beginning in bringing a spotlight to these issues. We've seen many things published in the leading mainstream press about these challenges. We've created many programs and leadership fellowships, and recently we've created a very important partnership with the White House and the Department of the Interior to support the President's Generation Indigenous initiatives. The Institute has been proud also to contribute some of our own resources, especially scholarship funds, to bring outstanding young Native Americans to our programs here and around the country. So on behalf of all of my colleagues at the Institute, I welcome all of you today. It is now my great pleasure to introduce someone who really has become a hero to many of us here for how he has taken his career in public service and then in his career after public service dedicated himself to something that is so important. Senator Byron Dorgan had a leadership position. Of course, his career was in state and federal government. But his many years in the U.S. Senate, including times as the chair and when he was both in the majority and in the minority on the Indian Affairs Committee, and he brought that passion to what he's doing now. And it is now my great pleasure to introduce him, Senator Byron Dorgan.
Thank you, Elliot. Thank you. Well, Elliot, thank you very much. I'm really pleased that you're all here, and I'm pleased that we're here at the Aspen Institute, a great organization, and one that we're here because I called Walter Isaacson, who runs this organization along with Elliot, called him and talked to him about putting this Center for Native American Youth here at the Aspen Institute. It's a great place. They do terrific work. We're pleased to be one of their programs, and I think a very significant program at that. Hey, Walter, how are you? It's good to see you. This is Walter.
Broadcast all over the Aspen Institute. Ellie was doing so well, but once
This is Walter Isaacson, who All of you know Walter Isaacson. He's, I should say, mostly a great, great author, but he's done so many other things. But I've read, I think, all of his great works, as have you, I'm sure. If not, we'll sell you some books later this day.
We'll give you some.
All right.
Anyway,
Walter,
thank y'all for being here.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anyway, it's so nice to see all of you. And we have some young folks here that you're going to hear from. This is called the Champions for Change. The Center for Native American Youth holds youth summits, and we do a lot of things dealing with education and so on. But the Champions for Change program is one that we got from the White House. The White House started a Champion for Change program 1 year. It was a one-time thing, and I said, you know what, we'd like to do that each year. And they said, great, so we have taken the mantle of the Champions for Change program. I want to introduce a few people quickly. Aaron Bailey. Aaron is the staff director of the Center for Native American Youth. Where's Josie? Right back there. And Josie works with us, does a great job, and really is in charge of the Champions for Change program. Is Ryan here? Ryan Ward. So we have a staff here that does really outstanding work. I noticed that we have a tribal chair, Jeff Gruby, from the Agua Caliente in the back of the room. Jeff, thank you for being with us. We'd all like to be out where your reservation is today. It's in Palm Desert, California. And Reed Milanovich. Reed, where are you? Right over here. I had a chance to talk to Reed just a bit ago. His father was an extraordinary tribal chair for so many years and made a big difference. Robbie McGee. Robbie's on our board. Robbie's from the Porch Band of Indians. He's right over here in the front. And Sarah Jane from the Choctaw. Sarah? Right over here. Thank you very much for being here. And I'll introduce Sam McCracken in a moment. Sam was with Nike N7 at the end here. The Casey family programs are represented today. They've been so important to us. The N7 fund that Sam is involved in. Robbie's Porch Band tribe has been very, very important to us. And other important funders. I will introduce Hillary Tompkins later, but she's the solicitor at the Department of the Interior. Hillary, thank you for being with us as well. So I was thinking as I walked in here about Winston Churchill giving, some of you have heard this perhaps, I was asked to give a lot of commencement addresses over the many years, and I've done a lot of commencement addresses. They're always wonderful. And I was thinking about the shortest commencement address ever given by Winston Churchill at Cambridge. He was at that point an old man, and he was asked to give the commencement address. And so he showed up, and they introduced him, and he stood up, and he sort of walked slowly to the lectern. He had a cane, he had a top hat, and so he put his cane, he hung his cane on the lectern, took his hat off and put it on the front of the lectern, and then he looked out at the crowd, and then he said, "Never give up." And then he looked at the crowd some more, and then he kind of reached up on his feet a little higher, and he says, "Never, never, never give up." And he put his hat on, took his cane, walked back to his seat. And I've always thought, what wonderful information for almost all of us, and especially at a commencement for young people. Never give up. What you will hear today, I think, from the Champions for Change program is some inspiring activities by young kids who could be doing other things but have decided to give of themselves to help others. We went out and asked for nominations from tribes across the country for some young people that were doing really interesting, inspiring things. We got over 60 nominations with very extensive information with all 60, and or 62, I think. And from those 60, we selected 5. And these 5, and all 60, but these 5 especially stand out as young people from across our country living on Indian reservations who do extraordinary things. So we want to celebrate that today. And I want to just finally mention to you that this organization of ours, the Center for Native American Youth, isn't and can't do everything, but we can do some things. And what we can do is put all the spots, shine all those spotlights on the same spot, and that is with Native American youth. To say, we want to celebrate success, We want to help create success. We want to deal with other issues where they face those issues. Some of them are dealing with teen suicide prevention with their classmates. We've worked a lot on those issues. Some of them are dealing with education opportunities. We work a lot with those circumstances. So there's a lot for us to do. I'm convinced when I go to sleep at night that although we don't have a lot of metrics because there's not a lot of data, but I'm convinced that step by step, all of us together, especially with kids like these, the Champions for Change, are making a difference in other children's lives. And so that's why we do it. There's a lot of things in life for us to choose to do. People say, well, I don't know what's second and third in other people's lives, but I know what's first. They're kids. They're kids. And so that's what we're involved in, Native American youth. And so I'm glad that you showed up today to be a part of a panel discussion. Now I want to introduce Sam McCracken. Sam is, he runs the N7 program from Nike. He's from Montana. You can't help that because you can't change your birthplace. I'm in North Dakota, and so I'm able to say that about Montanans. But Sam will have the last word anyway. Sam has a great story, and has become a very important, successful businessman with one of the great corporations in America. I'm proud to tell you he's on our board and on our executive committee on the Center for Native American Youth. Sam McCracken.
Thank you. Peter. My name is Sam McCracken. I'm an enrolled member of the Assiniboine Sioux Tribe. I grew up in the great state of Montana, and from Wolf Point, actually. So Assiniboine from a traditional side, on my maternal side of my grandmother. Aaron asked me to do this, and I'm always honored to be able to help inspire these kids to think beyond. I mean, they're already they already have an inspiring story, but you know, I just want to share with you guys kind of my journey through life. You know, at age 33, I landed at a company called Nike, and had a dream and a vision that I was in a place where I thought I could make a difference. I was working for a major brand that was a global brand all around the world, but I wanted them to focus on 1% of the U.S. population when I first started this. And a lot of people wondered, why would Nike care about American Indians? And I've been told they care about American Indians because Sam McCracken has a tremendous passion for his community. And I never let them forget that. I remind them all the time that we do this work because we want to create positive change in the world. And I'm fortunate to be able to do that. But it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy, and I had lots of obstacles. And today, I'm fortunate that I've created a positive footprint, and I believe in tribal communities over the last 18 years that I've been working there. And I do it for one thing, for you guys. It's for the future generations of Native communities. You are the future leaders of our culture. And as you look at the N for this room stands for Native. But the 7 really stands around something my grandfather told me. And it reads, in every deliberation, we must consider the impact of our decisions on 7 generations. And he explained to me as I was leaving the Fort Peck Reservation at age 19, which I didn't know where I was going. I didn't know what I was going to do. My mom was living in California, and I was going to go live with my mother. And he reminded me, never forget where you come from. Never forget it. Never forget where you're from. And he said that 7 generations, we believe, as Assiniboines, that we look back 3 generations for guidance, direction, and focus. So never forget what your elders have given to you to allow you to sit here today. But look forward 3 generations to hopefully make a difference, or create change, or create an impact on future generations who will come after you. And I think you're doing that, otherwise you wouldn't be sitting on this stage. So congratulations to all of you. And I'm so proud to say that the N7 brand could put a smile on these kids' faces and allow them to represent something from a sense of pride. And I think I got that sense when I met them today, because I sent them a package of N7 gear, and each one of them had a big smile on their face when I walked into the room. So a little bit about N7, though, just so we clear. I want to thank Chairman Gruby's here. He's on one of my founding board members of the N7 Fund. Nike creates product. And I convinced them that we can create some product that would give back to inspire and enable 2 million Native American and Aboriginal youth to participate in sport and physical activity. We know the challenges our kids face, and some people might call them issues, but I call them challenges because in the world of sport, a challenge can be overcome. And I believe that N7 will help this generation overcome the challenges they face by embracing sport. And sport, loosely defined, as however you want to define it, because that's the beauty of sport. You define what sport is to you. It could be going for a walk. It could be shooting hoops outside in the patio. But sport can be defined by the individual who's doing it. So that's what N7 is all about. So with that, I'm going to turn it back to Byron, and I think Byron's going to introduce some folks, correct?
Right.
Some champions to you, but thank you guys for having me, Byron. I'm an honored and pleasured to stand next to a man who created an organization that will truly make a difference in our tribal communities. So Byron, thank you for that.
Thank you very much, Sam. If this is being filmed, we'll strike from the record my crack about Montana. We can do that in the Senate, you see. You can just go revise and extend your remarks. All right. We've got 5 young folks here, and I'm going to tell you about them, and then we're going to ask them some questions, and you're going to get a chance to learn about them and hear about their experiences. I'm going to start over on that side with Rory Taylor, the Pawnee Nation of Oklahoma. Rory is a college freshman, serves as executive director of the Claremont College Indian Nation Scholars Program at Pomona College. He works with peers to teach sessions at local high schools that focus on college readiness, cultural education, and helping Native students connect with their tribal nation and family. Next, we'll introduce Jasmine Espinoza, Stockbridge Muncie Band of the Mohicans. Her hometown is Boulder, Wisconsin. She's a high school senior working to empower her peers through a mentoring initiative she created called the Warrior Circle Project. Warrior Circle Project. She creates with her Warrior Circle Project a safe space for youth to discuss challenges such as suicide prevention, bullying, health and wellness, and so on. Then we have Kareen. I didn't say it quite right. It's Karen, but you say it Kareen. She is a college senior, age 22, dedicated to raising the awareness of and providing support for the survivors of sexual abuse. She created an annual event called Breaking the Silence to promote healing and build support among Native Hawaiian families and communities. And finally, we have 2 more. We have Tatiana Tiknor, the Dene Yupik Tlingit tribe. I hope I have that right. She's a high school sophomore, and she serves as community doer, quote unquote, for the First Alaskans Institute. Community doer is her title. She motivates peers in community action program, promotes culture, and identifies opportunities to incorporate elders in community activities. And then finally, Hamilton Seymour, who's right next to me. He's from Noxac Indian tribe in Bellingham, Washington State. Hamilton is a high school sophomore as well, advancing culture and health through traditional sports. After losing his father to suicide, he became an avid native war canoe racer. He organizes peers now for racing teams to help prevent suicide and substance abuse, youth in sports. Well, you know, when you just think of these 5 that I just read about to you, you think, you know, a lot of kids are off doing other things. But boy, am I inspired by what they're doing. So Sam and I are going to ask some questions just back and forth. And let me begin, perhaps I can begin with Kareen, or Karen, as she said I could say. So tell me about a program, Breaking the Silence. How did you come up with the name, and tell me what you're doing? That's a very important program.
Yes. Well, let me just share with you just my own story, is that Break the Silence came from a journey that I took to find healing within my family. Someone very precious to me, actually one of my siblings, was sexually abused and lived in silence for 15 years. And the manifestations of carrying that burden and feeling isolated by yourself, there's things that can come out like suicide, drug abuse, alcohol abuse, and the list goes on, and that can be really disheartening. But then I actually, trying to find a solution, started Break the Silence, and I did my first event at my college. And it was really successful. It's basically what it is. It's a water balloon fight. So it's a really large water balloon fight. I know you're thinking, like, what does that have to do with sexual abuse? But in Hawaiian culture, the water is something that's very, very healing. And basically, when we're trapped in the balloon of silence, the silence of sexual abuse, and we don't talk about it, people can't start to heal. And so basically, the symbolism of the water balloon is when the water balloon pops on the grass, it empowers the grass to grow. The water flows out, and there's healing in that. And the same thing that can happen when we start to have real conversations about sexual abuse with our children, our youths, and we can really start to turn those numbers around. So, back to you.
Well, good for you. What a remarkable thing to do, though. We'll hear more about that, I'm sure. And others on the panel no doubt have similar experiences. Sam?
All right. Well, I'd just like to share, Byron shared a story real quickly with the kids that if you want to make the news, do something bad and you'll make the news. And what the center's doing with these young people is they're helping them make the news by doing something really good, really good. So that was a very powerful statement you made earlier to the kids, and I just want to share it with the folks because there's a lot of harmony to that, and I'm really super proud of these guys. So I'm going to go over to my let's see, how about we go to Hamilton? But the first question is, why are you passionate about traditional games? And do you have an idea of how you inspire other youth to participate in sport as a positive outlet?
Alright, so why I'm really passionate about what I'm doing, which is war canoeing back on the Northwest, or canoe racing. I'm really passionate because it's really rooted into my family, and I just really love it. It's like what I live for almost. It keeps me on a healthy lifestyle. It keeps me drug and alcohol free. And can you repeat the second part of your question?
How do you recruit other youth to come with you? How do you recruit your peers to come with you?
What I really try and push for when I try to motivate someone to come on this healthy lifestyle with me is that this is an opportunity to grow as a person, to grow as a leader, because what you're doing when you're in the canoe is that every stroke you take, it's almost like your life. You gotta remember. I'm sorry.
Let me ask you, is it just one person in the canoe? I mean, you have they say you're a native war canoe racer and you started other teams to race it. One person in the canoe or more than one?
The thing is that there's a variety of races. There's singles, where it's just by yourself. There's doubles, where you can be mixed, where you're with a girl or you're with another boy from your gender. Then there's 6-man, then there's 11-man.
And what do you prefer? What do you do?
I like 11-man. It's a team sport, and it really gives you that bond and sense of family. So I prefer 11-man.
That's a big canoe.
Yeah. It's
so where do you sit among the 11?
I'm trying to learn how to control it in the back and skip, but for like these recent years, I've been fortunate to be the bowman, which is the front. I set the pace, I set the stroke, and I just really love it. And like you said, it's a really long canoe. It's 53 feet long. That's average. And
well, you know, youth through sports, which is what you're talking about. You came through a tragedy in your family, great tragedy, and you've moved your life in a way that brings other kids into the sport that you love. That's an extraordinary thing, Hamilton.
thank you.
Good for you. Next, Jasmine. So you do something called the Warrior Circle Project.
Yes, I do.
Tell us how you named that and what you do.
Well, growing up, I found myself being a participant of many statistics. You hear statistics all the time about Native youth and about substance abuse and broken families. And growing up, I was involuntarily born into a broken family. My dad was an abusive alcoholic, and I had a pretty broken home. And then through my childhood, I am a survivor of sexual abuse, and I am a 12-time suicide survivor. And through those experiences, I sort of found out who I am as a person. And the more that I found out who I was as a person, the easier it was to see how many people don't know how to find out who they are as a person. And I wanted to be able to help people do that without having to go through the tragedy to be molded into who they are. There are ways to find out who you are without going down the wrong path. So I started the Warrior Circle Project, and I got the name because I was thinking about how our past ancestors were warriors, and what warriors do is they go out into battles and they fight battles and they protect themselves and other people. And I wanted to be able to reconnect that to our modern day tribes. I wanted to be able to make sure that the kids understood what that meant. And if you are a warrior and you go out to battle and you lose the battle, it doesn't make you any less of a warrior. If you're a soldier and you go to war and you lose the war, it doesn't make you any less of a soldier. And I wanted to make sure that they knew that you have to keep fighting battles until you find the one that's meant for you to win. And it's been really amazing to be able to go through this journey and to be able to see so many kids realize that they really are warriors and they do have the potential to be able to fight battles and they have the potential to be able to win battles. And it's just been amazing, and it's had an amazing impact on me as well as the kids that I get to work with on a daily basis.
Jasmine, what you said almost had me take my breath away. I mean, domestic violence, sexual abuse, multiple suicide attempts. So can you identify a moment, an event, or a thought that you crossed that said, okay, I'm going to do this to try to find out who I am, or what happened that moved you to where you are now?
I was sexually assaulted when I was 15 years old, and it happened at the school that I went to. And when I finally got the courage to come up and say that it had happened to me, the school decided to punish us both because he denied it, of course. And after that, my life sort of got flipped upside down. My mother brought me out of school because obviously that's unjust, that's not right. So after I was taken out of school, it was easier for me to be able to see it gave me a new outlook on life, and I was able to identify the problems and the issues that are in public schools today. And that's sort of when I became aware that something had to be done, but at that point in my life, there was so much going on that I honestly didn't want to be the one that did anything about it. But later on, I realized that if you see something that needs to be done, it's a very rare occasion that somebody my age can identify that something needs to be changed. And if you find yourself in that position and you see yourself as that person, you are obligated to do something because not a lot of people see it. Not a lot of people care about it. And that's sort of when I decided to step up, and I was like, okay, I'm the only one in my community that notices this stuff. So that's when I decided to start my initiative.
Well, you are a courageous young lady,
Thank
and
you.
thank you for that. And let me just mention, we're going to have questions from the audience as well, so you might be thinking about that. Sam?
I'm going to send my question out to Tatiana because this question really intrigues me. You know, I get to work for Nike, and this question is really, you are involved in the traditional games. Can you tell us about your involvement with the Alaskan Native Youth Olympics?
Well, my first year was last year, and last year I went to state for Indian stick pole, and I got third. Indian stick pole the purposes of the game is to fishing and your grip on how you can hold the fish and kill it pretty much. But you know how they wiggle a lot? So we have this stick, we put grease on it, and can I use you? Wait. Okay, so go here, turn around. And then there's a stick right here, and we try to take the stick out of our opponent's hands.
No.
And there's a whole bunch of other games, like there's the Alaskan high kick, where you're holding one foot and then you're on your hand and you have to kick like this foot off the ground and all your weight's on your one hand. There's one arm reach for, again, all your weight is on one hand, but you're pretty much vertical and you try to touch the ball. And then there's 1 foot high kick, 2 foot high kick, and Eskimo stick pull. Eskimo stick pull is getting a seal out of the water. And
And what does that involvement mean to you
Um,
personally? What does that mean to you personally?
it's a really good way to get your culture involved in your life. And I'm really happy that there's at least 15 people on my school's team. That makes me feel really happy.
Well, and your title is a community doer. What is a community doer?
A community doer is someone who isn't recognized for what they do in the community. They're trying to get them recognized for what they do. Like, I started learning my culture and being a role model so I could get other youth involved in it. I started learning my language, learning how to Yupik dance, and doing NYL, and pretty much just getting people involved is what community leaders do in making a change in their community.
I notice none of you are nervous at all, are you? You just sit up here, just calm and cool. Rory, let me ask you a question. You're from the Pawnee Nation of Oklahoma, but you're actually in Minnesota now, right? You're Minneapolis.
Somewhat.
Okay.
I recently relocated to Los Angeles, California, to attend Pomona College. I'm also not federally enrolled, but part of the Choctaw Nation of Oklahoma.
And I mentioned that you were the executive director of the Claremont College Indigenation Scholars Program at Pomona College.
That is correct.
And then you teach sessions at local high schools focusing on college readiness, cultural education, and so on. Describe what you do there and what persuaded you to do that.
Sure. First, I'd like to ask something of the audience. If you could raise your hand if you went to college and graduated from college. So quite a number of you. And then I'd like to ask you to, over maybe the next day or so, to think about your educational journey. Not only where did you go to school, but your parents, your grandparents, family, friends. For me, I traced my educational journey to a treaty the Pawnee Nation of Oklahoma made in 1857. I believe in that treaty, it's Article 3, but don't quote me on that, I'm not entirely sure. The United States government says in that treaty that they will fund the building of 2 manual labor schools for the Pawnee Nation of Oklahoma. That's where I start my educational journey. Because for me, education is a treaty right. A quality education and a quality post-secondary education is a treaty right for all American Indian youth. That is not the case currently. I am from Minneapolis, Minnesota. Currently in the city of Minneapolis, 1 in 4 American Indian youths will graduate from high school. I luckily was one of those 1 in 4, or 25%, to graduate from high school. Had a number of advantages. Both my parents went to college, had a great education in high school, but also had a great college counseling program that gave me all the available options, resources, and enthusiasm to attend college wherever I decided to go. That was not the case for a lot of my friends. My friends are either at community college or dropped out, or after high school just decided college wasn't available, it wasn't accessible for them. So fast forward a little bit, ended up at Pomona College in Claremont, California. It's about 45 minutes east of Los Angeles. Was involved with a gentleman in the audience, Scott Scoggins. We began working at some local high schools where he had relationships. So Sherman Indian High School, which is a Bureau of Indian Education high school. Semillas, or Academia del Semillas, which is a charter school in East Los Angeles for indigenous Mexican youth. And then Noli Indian High School, which is on the Sabova Reservation in Hemet, about an hour away. After this, began hearing some pretty common narratives, even among academically talented students. Well, I'm not really sure where I want to go to college. I don't really, college is a lot of money, you know, there are other things I could do, I could go to work. Well, no one of my family's ever gone to college, you know. Exactly the same type of things I had heard back in Minneapolis. Thankfully, Scott, along with Pomona College and then Pitzer College, which is our sister school, felt it was time to do something. So Claremont College Indigenation Scholars is really a program that tries to pair the community resources, the funding that both Pomona and Pitzer College have access to, and take that to the school. So every week we'll spend probably an hour or two at a partner high school with about 20 mentors that come from the Claremont colleges and work with a group on issues of college access. So what does college funding look like? What is college life like? How do I take the ACT or the SAT? Should I be nervous for the ACT or the SAT? And then finally, to provide the enthusiasm and the college stories that all of our mentors have to those students, that people who are in college now were nervous when they were applying. They may not have gotten into their first choice. It may be a stretch sometimes financially. To provide that crucial support as well as the logistical resources for that is really what we're about, what we're hoping to do, as well as bring all of our students to campus. Actually, not this week, but next week, Friday, we will have students from all three of our partner high schools for a number of sessions on campus. So we'll bring over, I think, 80 Native students to Pomona College for the day.
So you're kind of fishing. You're out there fishing for college students, aren't you?
Yes.
Yeah. All right, you know what I want to do with Sam's concurrence? I want to have time to hear from the audience if you have questions. You've seen 5 extraordinary young people doing really interesting things, and I want to give you some time, and then we're going to hear from Hillary Tompkins. So let's open it up for some questions, and we have a microphone that we can bring to you. If you all have some questions that you want to ask of these champions for change.
No questions, huh?
Yes, sir.
How do you see your tribe's involvement or your government? How can they help you to take necessary steps to continue these programs or to switch the cycle of domestic violence and all the other things that you've talked about? How do you see your tribe and your tribal leaders being able to help you do that?
Maybe a couple of you can volunteer. Has your tribe been helpful to what you're doing? And then we'll go to another question. Who would like to respond to that? Has your tribe been helpful to you in terms of what you're doing with your program?
Well, my tribe is a little bit different because Native Hawaiians, we're not necessarily a very pure race anymore. We have intermarried and we're so mixed. It's really funny because when I used to live here for a little bit, I would be on the train and people would just stare at me. And I'm like, oh, do I look different than everybody else? But it's funny because I'm actually Native Hawaiian, Portuguese, Chinese, Mexican. So we're all very, very mixed. But we still keep our culture, and that's how we keep our identity. And through our culture, I think just from advocating at my school, I haven't found necessarily a specific person, but I know there's a lot of Native Hawaiians that, specifically my friends, who are dying to get involved. It's something that's really fun, and when they realize that, well, specifically with my program, the significance of the water and how healing it is, I think that we really do get a great response. I was working at Children and Youth Day, which is like a really large event that we have at the state capitol in Hawaii, and I had over 800 kids come by our booth and throw water balloons, and they had a blast. But it's really nice to have. Hawaii is kind of a large community, so I was saying that I guess a lot of people are involved.
All right. Anybody else getting help from your tribe?
I would probably say that the most helpful thing that tribal governments and tribal leaders can do would be to encourage people to speak out and to be able to be part of that community. I think a lot of times there's some stereotypes going around about tribal government, and many times they can seem unapproachable. People think that they have a lot more important things to be doing than to be dealing with me, or they have a lot more on their plate than listening to what I have to say. But I would say that the most important thing that they can do is to be able to try to make themselves as approachable as possible for people who want to speak up and make change, because that's where it all starts, is to be able to know who you can go to for resources and for help. And that would be, if all tribal governments could take that into consideration, that would be amazing.
Hamilton, you were going to say something about this?
Yes, actually, since my initiative is keeping our culture alive through traditional sports, my tribe does invest in us by not sending us. It's optional for us if we want to go to CrossFit, which is working out, self-body, and it's really helped us mentally and physically. And so they've been helping us out by giving us the opportunity to just be active there. So that's how they've invested in us. And I only got my Uncle Dante here. He's supporting me. My mom unfortunately couldn't make it because of other obligations, but just really like to thank my tribe for everything that they do for me, and they are 100% supportive for the youth.
Good. Now, as we search for other questions, at some point you've got to send us a photograph of, was it 53 feet? The 11 there?
Okay, I'll do that.
So we want a photograph of a 53-foot boat with 11 of you, 10 of your best friends and you in it.
All right.
All right.
I'll definitely do that.
Other questions? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Brianna Carey. I work with Teach for America's Native Alliance Initiative. So after college, think about us. But I have a question for you guys, because so many of your experiences come from your schooling. One of the things we're trying to do is get our teachers more involved in communities and really help initiatives that students are starting like this. What's some advice if you wanted to get your teachers more involved in what you're doing, your interests, what do you want your teachers to be doing? Or also, can you think of just maybe an example where a teacher actually was very inspiring to you?
I would probably say that since I've had so many problems in the school with bullying and things like that, the most important thing that a teacher could do is to be able to let kids know that school should not be a one-size-fits-all thing. Some kids learn better visually, some kids learn better auditorily, there's completely different options for everybody, and I think my school did not let people know that. I go to school online currently, and it's so much better of a fit for me than it was to have to go to a regular school every day. And I think that a lot of kids nowadays don't know that there are other options. There's online schooling, there's homeschooling, there's tons of different ways, but like I said, the educational system has become a one-size-fits-all thing, and people can't squeeze themselves into that mold successfully. So just being mindful of that would be very helpful for people to be able to continue their education.
Like Jasmine said, some teachers are stereotypical. They think that we're all slow learners and we all need extra help. I'm just like, oh my gosh. No. This is easy. I don't need your help right now. And they act like they're not smarter like other people. Like if you have light skin, they think, oh, you got this. And then if you look native, they act like you don't know how to do it. And I think that teachers should learn that more.
No, just to say, I saw several of you shaking your head yes when she said what she just said. If you have lighter skin, they think you learn easier, right? I mean, that of course is a form of prejudice, isn't it? And maybe as you discuss issues here, when people ask questions, you might also just tell us a little about that issue. Have you confronted that in your lives, and if so, how does it manifest itself in your lives or your family's lives? So right in the back over there. So think about that as well.
Following up on the Senator's comment, it's just been a couple days since the Academy Award ceremony took place, and so much discussion centered on the lack of diversity among the actors. But of course, Native Americans and Asians were not part of that discussion. I wondered, how did the images of Native Americans in the media in Hollywood shaped your maturity, and whether any of you might want to enter the field of media or film, especially Rory being so close to Los Angeles.
And while they're thinking about that, I just want to introduce, did I introduce Patty Talhangba? I don't think I did. Right here. I wanted to introduce Patty. She's a board member of ours, and she is former, well, she's a journalist in every sense of the word, and she's been a television reporter and anchor in I guess, Arizona, right? New Mexico? Yeah.
Yeah, that's wonderful. You said that, sir. I actually take a class that's centered around, well, what is Los Angeles? What is it, kind of as an idea? And one of the things we talk about a lot is Hollywood. Hollywood and Los Angeles, by extension, is one of the major centers of cultural production in the entire world. As much as my professor would love if we all went home and read Tolstoy and The Economist and looked at the stars for 15 minutes every night. Not all of us have time to do that. Not all of us will do that, but we'll go. The American public loves movies. They love entertainment in a number of formats. And for me, that cultural production is a sovereignty issue. And people give me weird looks when I say that, but the reality is in cultural production, when American Indians, when indigenous people worldwide are not involved in how they're portrayed in such a major way, that's taking away sovereignty, that's taking away self-determination. That we don't have a voice in who we are and what we say and what we do. And so for me, I'm not necessarily sure whether I want to go into media, but it's certainly an issue at the forefront. Certainly, I see this woman here with a renamed shirt on of the Washington, D.C. football team. These are all issues that all have spillover as well. When I talk to students in our partner high schools, not only do they say, well, I can't be a native lawyer, I can't be a native engineer, I can't be a native doctor, because no one's done it before. Well, that's not necessarily true, but they just haven't seen it yet. But at the same time, well, what do they see? Well, they see a mascot, they see a movie, and they think, that's all I can be. That's all that the media is telling I can be. So that issue has so many carryover effects because it's all about our public perception.
Very well said. Very well said. I hadn't noticed your T-shirt until. You're welcome to.
You can find these at NCAI.
See, there was a purpose for getting dressed today, wasn't there? To be able to show that new name. Yeah.
This is where the Redskins are.
Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
I'm very curious to learn how you feel you have impacted your peers, perhaps through a story or your own words, what you believe your impact has been amongst your peers.
What I experienced is I get impact from my friends and I impact them. One of my friends, he's kind of like me. He learned his language and he's really improved over the years since I've known him. He can now spell out things and talk to people on a regular basis in his own language, and that I think is really cool. And also that doing NYO, getting people involved. I'm a recruiter because we don't have enough people, I guess. And seeing them having fun really makes me happy, and seeing them learn something that's cultural. Cool.
My program is centered around having an impact on people your own age. It's all about me being able to mentor people my age so that they can go on and mentor other people. And it's been amazing because children and young adults are more apt to open up and to listen to something if it's coming from one of their peers that they've known and that they can confide in, rather than to a counselor that they don't know or somebody of a big age gap. And the impact has been amazing. I've been able to have people open up to me and tell things that they haven't told a soul before. And it's just always very humbling to be able to be the person that they come to and to be able to give them the advice that I got. Because I got the advice that I got to where I am the hard way, but there's another way to get there. So that's what my program's all about. And the impact it's had on me and the people of my community has just been outstanding to be able to experience this and to be able to carry it on throughout other people's lives.
Anybody else?
Well, I just have a story to tell you. When I first started advocating for sexual abuse, it's often something that nobody really wants to talk about. They're like, oh, sexual abuse, I don't want to talk about it. But it's really funny because when I started having conversations that weren't scary, when you start to just sit down with people and have heart-to-hearts, that's really when you start to see the change. I've been so lucky to have a program that creates such a safe and fun environment to create opportunities for conversation. Specifically with one girl that I was just friends with, and I just started telling her about what my passions was, what my story was, and I was just being really raw and really real about how I felt. And that really made her feel safe to be able to come forward to me. And now I can say that she's actually an advocate for our school, and she came forward with her story, and she's empowering so many more people. And I really think that's what I think everybody up here really does, is it takes a single spark to light a fire. And I think with that fire, it's just so infectious that people really want to get involved. And pretty soon, news stories aren't going to be bad anymore because everybody is going to be really inspired by all the great things that other people are doing and really want to get involved themselves. And I really think that's where inspiration starts and spreads so we can really rehabilitate our communities to a state of resilience.
All right, is there any last question from the crowd? Yes, way in the back. Okay.
Hello. My name is Lucia. I'm from the Anne Bryce Foundation. I'm also a member of the Creek Nation of Oklahoma. And something that I think I was very fortunate growing up in Oklahoma, there is a large Indian population. And I know my doctor growing up was Creek. And my father served on the Supreme Court of our tribe for 13 years. And so I know doctors and lawyers and engineers who are Indian. And I know I'm very fortunate for that. And so I guess my question for you all is, what would you like to see from professionals that are Indian, and how can they work with you all to bring kind of their journeys to the youth that you work with?
I would say your time. Time is a very valuable commodity, as I learned in my microeconomics course. But your time is so valuable. If it's taking 5 minutes to speak with an individual, if it's taking a longer period, if you have them for an internship or a residency, that ability to know that a professional in the field you're interested in, that you're passionate about, cares about you, is invested somewhat in your future, is invested in your ability to grow, is the benefits of that are exponential. I don't necessarily want to become a teacher, but I had a teacher in high school who at one point told me, you can go to the Ivy League, you can go to any U.S. military academy you want, you can go to the best liberal arts colleges in the world. And maybe I had a conception of that at some point, but until that moment, no one had ever said it to me. And that radically changed the way I thought about college, the way I thought about where I was going to go to college, and frankly, the way I thought about education. I had done well in school, I had received good grades, but I wasn't really sure what that was for. What was the purpose behind that, other than if I went home, I was going to have a pretty good talking to if I didn't. And then upon the completion of high school, I decided to attend Pomona College, but was deciding at the last minute between an Ivy League school, Dartmouth College, and U.S. Military Academy, the U.S. Naval Academy. And that moment, while there were a lot of other things that influenced that eventually, that moment made all the difference. And it took her about 5 seconds to say. So your time is a very valuable asset, not only to you, but to all the youth that you work with and deal with on a daily basis.
That's very well said, and important advice for everybody that's aspiring to find the education opportunity that exists. Education is such an important part of one's life. It's the step ladder up and out of poverty in many areas and so on. But let me do this. I want to introduce Hillary Tompkins, and then we'll conclude after Hillary is done. But I want you, if you're able to stay around a little bit and say hello to these champions for change. You know now from hearing them and seeing them how inspiring their stories are, and how much they are going to impact other people's lives in the years ahead. This is just the start, but at a very early age, they've started in a very impressive way. And Hillary Tompkins is probably no different in many respects. She's the highest-ranking Native American serving in the Obama administration. She is the solicitor for the U.S. Department of the Interior. She's a law graduate from Stanford University, one of America's great universities. And she has been unbelievably faithful at coming to the events when we have asked her to come. It's really good of her to do, and you should know how much we appreciate that. But would you welcome Hillary Tompkins?
Thank you, Senator. It's always a pleasure to be here. I feel so privileged to meet with the next generation of leaders, and I mean that sincerely. First of all, I want to introduce you according to my culture. I'm a member of the Navajo Nation, and in Navajo we say our clans. So Yat E Hillary Tompkins Yin Nishle, Ashihin Nishle Nahlana Bashishtin Hotsoy Dashiche Nahlana Dashanole, Rema, New Mexico de Nasha. And Josie is from Rema as well, which is a small part of the Navajo reservation. So Rema power, Dene power, woman power. So check, check, check. So I just want to say how impressed I am with all of you. You actually energize me, and I'm sure you energize all of these adults here in the audience. Your stories are empowering. And I just want to say, keep telling your stories, because you are a unique part of this country. We as Indigenous people have a very, very, what I view as sacred place in this country's history, before, today, and into the future. So you carry that with you every day in how you behave and what you say and how you live your life. For me, being here in Washington, D.C., I've been here over 5 years now, and solicitor is old-fashioned English word for general counsel, so I'm a lawyer. And as chief counsel to Interior Department, which, as you know, oversees many different things in the country, the national parks, Fish and Wildlife Service, all of the water dams in the West, to name a few, as well as our relationship, our trust relationship with Indian tribes. And in that work, I feel that it's important for us as Native people to be proud of who we are and remember where we come from, no matter where we end up. And in my daily work, I turn to my culture to give me strength, and that's something I heard all of you say, be it in traditional sports, be it in terms of the warrior, the history of the warrior, be it in terms of treaties, being it in terms of water and the importance of water. And that's a common thread I see in all of your stories. And that is what I think creates or gives you that strength and that strong spirit. So hang on to that, because that has helped me do what I've done in my life. I also want to share with you a part of my tribe's culture, Navajo tradition. In Navajo, we believe on the right side is your peaceful peace way, and on your left side of your body is your war way. And when those are in balance, that's in Navajo culture, we try to reach balance, and that's called hojo. And so life's journey is to try to achieve hojo. And so I want to share with you that I think that you are achieving hojo. And to do that, you must have your war way go through struggles, pain, challenges. This is what a medicine man told me. He said, Hillary, you can't get your peace way right away. Your peace way is not for free. you have to go through your war way. And you all have told us stories about how you've gone through challenges and struggles and strife. But to me, that means you've used that to become peaceful and focused and knowing who you are and bringing peace to your own heart and to your own communities. So you are achieving Hojo in my mind. And I just want to say, keep doing it. Keep walking in harmony, walking in beauty. Don't let anybody tell you you can't do it. Don't let anybody bring you down because of the color of your skin or where you're from or the stereotypes that you see, and know that you can do it, because I have faith that you can. So thank you, and congratulations on being this year's Champions of Change. Let's give them a big round of applause.
Well, as you noticed, Hillary is just a couple of years older than the Champions for Change. Not much, but equally inspiring in so many ways. I want to thank Sam and N7. That strong spirit exists in the N7 shoes, I think, and the purpose for which they are made. And I also want to, just as I conclude, I want to say that this little place here in this small program, now just only 4 years old, I think is the only place in the country where we spend all of our time focusing on the issue of Native American youth. We do that deliberately, and we do that we're focused like a laser on these issues. And this would not in any way be successful were it not for Erin Bailey, who's been the staff director since the day we started. And it's not easy to create a nonprofit and grow it and build it and be productive with it, but she has done that as the staff director since the first day we started. And then I want to introduce Josie Rafaelito, who comes from a reservation in New Mexico. I had the pleasure of visiting that reservation and doing a high school convocation and meeting her folks and so on. Josie actually does all the things that works with us on all the programs, but especially works on the Champions for Change program. And I know she gets great satisfaction from that. And then Ryan Ward, who's next to Josie back there. Ryan comes from California and is where does he come from? Oregon. Oregon? Well, I was close. That's, to those of us in North Dakota, it's just, he's out west. Okay, let me amend this. It's all the same as far as I'm concerned. When Jefferson was chastised for the Louisiana Purchase, I think it was Daniel Webster went to the floor of the Senate and described what an awful purchase that was. And he described the West Coast as several thousand miles of cheerless rocks near the water. So I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. So anyway, these are the three people, along with some other help, that really make this happen. And I want you all to say a special thanks to them as well. Anybody else? If not, we want to thank all of you for taking your time in the middle of the day, for coming up and spending time with us. We are inspired to be able to do this work. We are going to take these kids to the White House this evening, I believe, right? Aaron? Tomorrow. You know what the heck. It's not details. When is that? Tomorrow? Yeah. Okay, so. Oh, man. What's that?
5 to 7.
Okay. 5 o'clock to 7 o'clock tomorrow night. We're going to go to the National Congress of American Indians. So Chairman Gruby, you'll be there, I'm sure. And we're going to have each of these kids say a minute or so to the gathered Congress of American Indians to let them understand, as all Americans should, that there are 5 kids out there they need to pay attention to, that ought to inspire them, ought to lift them up. And so they'll go to the NCAI, and they're going to go to the White House, and then there's a reception tomorrow night, Aaron says, from 5 o'clock to 7 o'clock, and where is that?
At NCAI, in the federal room.
And where is that?
At Capitol Hill, sorry.
Capitol Hill?
100 16th
The Capitol, okay, the Capitol Hilton Hotel. If you come to the Capitol Hilton Hotel, Aaron will be waiting at the front door to guide you to the room. So you all have a wonderful day today, and thank you so much for joining us at lunch. You did a terrific job.